Don't think about the logistics. Don't think about the logistics of this show, guys. Don't think about it. No, no, no. No, no. Don't think about the logistics. Just get wrapped up in the emotion and the crying. Don't think about it. No, no, no. So, we're at the final episode of Discovery, Season 3. Perhaps the final episode of the series. I don't know if we have an update on Season 4 yet. Not as bad as the previous two season finales. Actually, I'd say this is the best season finale I've seen from Star Trek in a while. This is the best season finale since like Enterprise Season 3, right? Because Enterprise Season 4 finale was horrific, one of the worst episodes. But, this one wasn't that bad. This one, I think this episode is tied for my favorite episode of the season. My favorite episode this season was Die Trying. The one where we first get introduced to future Starfleet, and then we get an actual kind of Star Trek mission to do, where we need to save the Keeley, I think they were called, by going to a seed vault. It was an interesting little Star Trek story, and that's all we really need. Isn't that funny? If we just had simple little contained stories, I would be happy. But did this season go off the rails as hard as the last two seasons near the end? No, not at all. This season kind of went to a logical conclusion. It didn't completely lose its mind like Season 2 and Season 1. Season 1 had its logical conclusion at the end of the Mirror Universe arc. And then they came back to the Prime Universe for a bunch of episodes of just really quickly trying to fastly tie up loose ends to end the season in the craziest way possible, where they end up ending the war by having a criminal from the Mirror Universe disguise herself at the behest of Starfleet as a Starfleet officer to plant a bomb in the core of the Klingon homeworld, just to end all the plot threads. Stupid. But I digress. We're supposed to be talking about Season 3, Star Trek Discovery. That Hope Is You, Part 2. Who is that Hope? It's Michael Burnham. Of course it is. Or is the Hope that strange Starfleet guy that was stuck at that outpost for 40 years? Remember that guy with the alarm cock in the first episode? This episode is the two-part section from the first episode, because that guy shows up at the end. Whatever his name is. The guy that was waiting for Michael Burnham for all those years. Waiting for somebody to come roll up a flag. For some reason, Starfleet won't allow you to roll up a flag. The Federation won't allow you unless you're enrolled with the Federation. I have no idea. That's like saying I can't raise whatever flag I want in my quarters. That doesn't make any sense. The flag is there so anybody can fly it. As far as I'm concerned, anybody can fly the Federation flag. It's okay. Okay, you can't say that you're part of the Federation just by flying it, but you're allowed to just recreationally fly it. I don't know. So, this episode, again, while being technically the second part to the first episode, is actually like the friggin' 13th part of a huge movie, and that it starts off exactly where the last episode ended. Saru and co. are still in the Kelpian hologram ship in the planet that's at the center of the Veruba Nebula. The place with all the dilithium. Adira enters the scene. She has arrived from the previous episode where she stole aboard Book's ship with radiation medicine in her mouth. Somehow she knew that would help it survive the transition into the holoship. I don't know. Because the holoship made everyone else's gear disappear. Somehow these pills give Saru, Culber, and Michael a little bit more time to survive the radiation. Scratch that. Michael's already gone. need to convince Sukal to overcome his fear of the kelp monster. I don't know why they can't just turn off the hologram for the kelp monster. They're being menaced by a hologram. Why can't they just say, Sukal, listen, just turn off the hologram. Just say it. Just say, turn off the holos. Wink, wink. Nothing bad will happen. But that doesn't happen. They need to overcome the fear of the hollows and have Sukal enter the room where his mother died. Okay? So this is the A-plot. At least what I feel should be the A-plot, because it actually involves resolving the issue of the burn. They get into the room, and there's a recording that plays. This is after Sukal and Saru have a touching moment where Saru is trying to explain that, Sukal, you're not alone. The Federation is here now. I'm a Kelpie, and even though I look like a human now, you can trust me. So Sukal puts his hand on the little spot to turn off the hologram, at which point it plays the last recorded message of his mother, and his mother's dying, and it's like a hologram recording. And he sees himself screaming at the death of his mother due to radiation, and him causing the burn. The scream, when he was a child, he screamed and caused the burn. And the reason why, according to Hugh Culber, is that being born next to all the dilithium caused his genetics to alter in such a way that he could yell and cause a subspace wave that interacted with the subspace frequency of the dilithium, causing a burn in all the dilithium, because all the dilithium, I guess, is connected through subspace. I have no idea what they mean by that. I've never known all dilithium to, for no reason, be entangled with each other over subspace. Like, I've never seen resonance from our dilithium chamber interfere with subspace frequency in such a way that it caused a reaction in the warp core of another ship. I've never seen that. Like, surely if that's possible, it would have occurred by now. You know? You'd think you would have had all kinds of burns if it was that easy. But I guess this is such a rare occurrence to have someone be born near a big enough dilithium deposit. I don't know. I guess it's maybe a 1 in a trillion chance like that. And maybe his genetics had to be that way. Like he's just a rare occurrence. I guess it had to happen once. You know, if you follow the logic of this show. So they tell Sukal, don't worry, bud. Don't worry. We're going to leave here and we're never going to have another burn. Even though we just played the recording of the burn. And we let you see it, praying that you weren't going to scream and cause another burn. Because when he leaves the dilithium planet, there won't be enough dilithium around him, I guess, to cause another burn. Just don't go to any mines or anything, okay, bud? But there's this sequence in this episode where you can see the scream that Sukal made that caused the burn, and you can see the waves coming out of his mouth. What are we seeing there? Are we seeing subspace waves in our space? I wasn't aware that we could actually see subspace at the level of our space, because subspace is a level of space below our space. We shouldn't be able to interact with it with our eyes, but we can see these waves on screen. Maybe it's just there for the benefit of the audience. So this resolves the burn. And what's interesting about this, and I only noticed this after sleeping on it, is that the ship around Sukal is crumbling. It's unstable. If Sukal had died, he would therefore be unable to cause another burn. So basically, if the crew had arrived a little bit later, Sukal would have died, thus eliminating the possibility for another burn. Which means this season has one of those plots that would have passively solved itself if the characters did nothing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that interesting? I've seen it a few times, plots that passively resolve themselves. It's always stupid, But, hey, it's about the friends we made along the way. Or in this case, enemies, like Osira. Because while this is going on, the B-plot, the cry herd, where all the characters are crying, but they're herd, and they ain't got no shoes, except that they do. And the robots are helping the crew of the Discovery take back the Discovery from the hands of Osira. And it's exactly as dumb as you think it'd be, because the amount of lapses in judgment that we need to have this plot go off without a hitch is unbelievable. For starters, Osira starts to vent all the atmosphere from the ship, but she doesn't just do it immediately. Like, she doesn't just turn off life support everywhere, turn off oxygen recyclers, turn off heat, turn off gravity. She doesn't do any of that. She slowly allows the air to leak out, slowly killing everybody, so that they have enough time to come up with a plan to beat Osira. Isn't that smart? So this is dumb, but Michael steals one of the regulators' badges or communicators. Regulators being Osira's henchmen. And she gets a message across in code to Tilly, and Tilly understands that this means we need to blow up a nacelle. I don't understand how she communicated that through this code, but Tilly likened it to some experience they had in the past. Yada yada yada. Doesn't really matter. We need to blow up a nacelle. They're running out of air, and the robots can't do it because the robots cannot function in the magnetic interference of the nacelle, which I guess makes sense. Nacelles are dangerous. That's why we put them on the end of a pylon, to keep them away from the crew and their squishy, weak bodies. And robots in this case. So they build a bomb to put in the nacelle and make it go boom boom, and make it so the Discovery is now without spore drive and without warp, leaving her dead in the water because Stamets has been transported back to Federation HQ forcibly by Michael. And now, once they get that nacelle exploded, they're done for. And the fleet can come and intercept them and outgun them, which is weird, because when Discovery escaped the Federation headquarters, I couldn't understand how 32nd century Starfleet ships in headquarters surrounding Discovery couldn't defeat a 900-year-old ship. That refit must have been pretty good. If the amount of technology they could ram into the hull of Discovery could make it take on all of the Federation, with their full firepower, because I believe Vance just let them fire at will. So there's also a fleet coming from Navarre. So somehow Michael got a message out to Navarre like a few hours ago, maybe, in the time span of this show, last episode, and then they have a fleet going there to defend the Federation, even though the Federation and Navarre were not on the best terms, and a Federation ship had not visited Navarre for over a century, and they can get there that fast. You'd think a Federation ship would have been to Navarre just for a visit, if it was that fast to get there, at least once. Man, don't think about the logistics. Don't think about the logistics of this show, guys. Don't think about it. No. Don't think about the logistics. Just get wrapped up in the emotion and the crying. Don't think about it. No. So there is the return of the huge, empty, voluminous internals of Discovery when Michael and Book escape the captivity of Osira in the medbay, where they're trying to forcibly remove information from Book's head on how to get to the center of the nebula. They, wham bam, thank you ma'am, escape their captors, and Book waylays Zera in a turbo lift by getting out of the turbo lift, jumping to the outside of it, and jostling around and kicking him, and the frigging turbo lift is floating in the sky. You can see for what looks like hundreds of meters in either direction. They're floating on the inside of the Discovery in these turbo lifts. Since when did turbo lifts just kind of float there? Man, what a refit. Somehow they refitted it so the Discovery was bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It has to be seen to be believed. The unbelievable stupidity of it. But it's just a CGI nightmare, which leads me to wonder if it's a budget problem, because it would have been really cool if this fight happened on the outside of the ship, like with magnetic boots and shit. Like, oh man, that would have been cool. Kind of like in First Contact, where they're fighting the Borg on the outside of the Sovereign class Enterprise. That was pretty decent. But this was not decent, because Book kicks Zara and he falls all the way down into the nether region of Discovery. Why is there gravity in there? Did anyone explain that? Why is there gravity inside this voluminous space? What would be the point? The gravity should be on the deck plating of the turbo lift, not in the space around it. That would just impede the operation of the turbo lift. So immediately my brain was thinking, where's the gravity coming from? Why is it there? Too many questions. Don't ask any questions. And Michael does this horrific jump down from one turbo lift to another turbo lift, straight out of Star Wars, or straight out of Star Trek Into Darkness for that matter, because Spock does something similar near the end of that movie, doing a death-defying jump through the sky onto an object that he just had a time in his brain how to get onto it without dying. Action movie stuff, guys. Action movie. So Zara's dead. Book defeated him. That was cool. I like Book. And Zara was kind of a cool villain. He seemed very nonchalant. And when he got angry, he knew there was a problem. And Book killed him. So Book has come full circle. He's now gone from a courier to killing the bad couriers to proving himself to Starfleet. I would have loved to see him in a uniform at the end, but we'll get into that later. Michael ends up in the main computer room of Discovery, along with Osira. And Michael is basically trying to reset the Discovery computer to get control of the life support systems to save her crew that are still suffocating. And she does this, but not before having to fight Osira one-on-one. Action movie style. Hey, bang, bang. And they're fighting each other, and Osira pushes Michael into a wall of programmable matter, which looked painful as hell. But Michael shot her from inside the wall, killing Osira with a stupid action movie one-liner after she was dead. You know? Hey, I'm not playing any favorites. It was stupid when they did that in Star Trek before, and it's just as stupid now, don't get me wrong. So life support is back online, and I guess she beams the rest of the regulators and Osira's men out into space. I was like, wait a minute, beam them where? You need to beam them into the friggin' brig. Beam them into a deck, and then lock all the bulkheads. Did you kill them? They need to be arrested. Why are we okay with just murdering people? That was a little bit much to me. Why are we trying to program the audience to subtly be okay with just murdering people? I mean, I've seen it happen before in Star Trek, but this is, Michael had full control of the ship. She had the upper hand. She could have just arrested all of them easily. That's the technology we have access to here. We could just lock them in one deck. Site-to-site transport. But I think we killed them. I mean, I don't think she beamed them back to the Viridian. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're dead because there's no air in space. Somehow the computer knew not to beam the scientist away. You know, that scientist who, for some reason, is a character in the last two episodes, and for some reason is so dumb, he couldn't figure out Osira was evil all this time, just because he was willingly looking the other way. The dumbest scientist you can possibly imagine. How can you be a scientist and be that dumb? I have no idea. But he's okay now. I guess he's just all right with the crew because he's on the bridge, and he's probably going to be a character next season, unfortunately. So they return. to the Veruba Nebula. They jump in after Osira has technically absorbed the Discovery into the Viridian, because they couldn't steal the ship manually. They had to envelop it with the huge humongousness of the Viridian, and Michael ejects the warp core, and you can see the warp core jostle around and scraping against the sides of the tube. How is that possible? You can't do that. You can't do that. It's machined in such a way so that it cannot jostle around. There's no play in it. It comes straight through. I mean, I've looked at it. I'm in engineering. I've seen it. How different is Discovery from a ship from my time? You know, not very. It shouldn't be anyway, because it's from what, the 2200s? It's not that much of a refit. And somehow I think that if it got a refit in the 32nd century, they wouldn't have it so the warp core could play around in its ejection tube and possibly explode. It's kind of a dangerous thing. You know, it's possibly the most dangerous thing on the ship in terms of raw power and amount of expansion it would have upon explosion. But they eject the warp core, and Book, according to the scientist character Aurelio, whatever his name is, Book, because he's an empath, he can interact with the mycelial network and jump the ship. All it takes is an empath. There's all kinds of them. So we just inadvertently made Stamets not important. Stamets is no longer the only person who can jump the ship. So now we know that empaths can do it, and Stamets can do it. So there we go. Stamets is no longer cool. He can leave now. We got Book. If he doesn't want to be there. He already doesn't like Michael because Michael beamed him into friggin' space so that the Federation could save him, but to beam him off the ship so he could be protected from Osira, because Osira didn't know that she could jump the ship without him. A sensible choice, but at the same time, it sucks for Stamets, and it sucks for fans of his, right? I actually think he's a cool character, but now not so much, because Book can jump the ship. They eject the warp core, blowing up the Viridian. At the same time, they jump the ship into the Veruba Nebula, save Su'Kal, Saru, Hugh, and Adira, and everybody's off scot-free. We're all one big happy family. And they get back to the Federation headquarters, and Michael is given control of the Discovery while Saru was off educating Su'Kal on Kelpian things on their home planet of Kamener, which is so far in the distant future, it should actually be extremely alien to Saru. So, really, Saru can't teach Su'Kal much about modern Kamener, and neither can Su'Kal teach Saru, because Su'Kal was born in a hologram, basically, and raised in one for his entire life. So what? They're kind of both aliens on Kamener now. It's an interesting take, but they're on Kamener now, and the new uniforms look pretty ace. I can do without the things on the shoulders. They look a little bit. I don't like uniforms with structured pieces on it that can interfere with things. I like uniforms like this where you can kind of get full range of motion and not get stuck. I don't like little objects sticking out. Other than that, the uniforms are cool. Gray is an interesting take. And this whole episode, I was wondering why the hell we didn't get these uniforms before. I mean, they're back in Starfleet. Why did they not just get them immediately? So yeah, that's the end of the episode. And the end of the episode made me happy and hopeful for the future, because they had a little Star Trek mission at the end. They were saying, like, where to? Well, this planet needs this and that, and this planet needs to do this, and we need to go talk to this person. Friggin' cool. I wish the whole season was like that. But instead, it's extreme yelling and screaming and killing. So yeah, that's the last episode of Season 3 of Discovery. It was pretty good. If you ignore all the craziness that I just pointed out, it was pretty good. Could have been better. Could have been a lot worse. The season was way better than Picard season 1. Way better than season 2 of Discovery. It's about as good as season 1 of Discovery this season, I think. And none of them were as good as Lower Decks. If you take Star Trek since 2017 or whenever Discovery first aired, I think Lower Decks season 1 is the best, followed by Discovery season 3, followed by Discovery season 1, followed by Discovery season 2, and then lastly Picard. I hated Picard. Maybe we'll be looking into that in the future. Who knows? If we get a season 2 of Picard, or if I feel like reviewing the past episodes, because I'm going to have to do something with this channel. So, let's check out my dishonorable mentions in my stupid notebook that is extremely antiquated and everyone makes fun of me for using because everybody else just uses a pad. But I got the classics, baby. Pen and paper. The Kelpian hollow ship in the nebula somehow makes Gray real. You know, the previous host for Adira's symbiont. Somehow he's physically real. How does that work? How does the hologram know to make Gray real and not all the other hosts? Like, what's different about Gray? Not only that, it does alter your visage to appear something that's more easy to understand by Su'Kal because the program was made for him. Gray appears out magically from inside of Adira, and he's a Vulcan. And I don't understand how, like, if I went into this program, this holodeck, holosuite, whatever it is, and I had split personality disorder, would it create my alternate personality as a physically real thing? Could I imagine someone to exist? Then again, I guess we're kind of imagining that the Kelt monster exists, so maybe there's precedence. I don't know, I just wanted a better explanation of how that worked. The annoying spinning camera coined by Kirkland himself, the old Kirkland signature camera work, has appeared again in this episode for a few moments, where the camera's just spinning around and it's making the audience sick. Mostly during the battle scenes on that where Vance and crew were conducting battle from inside the Federation headquarters. They were kind of like just moving around, trying to give it a sense of action that wasn't really there. Ugh. Felt like I was going to vomit. It's not the worst of it, though. It was worse in past seasons, but it's still bad to see it come back. It seems bizarre to me that Vance would allow Michael to let Osira take the Discovery out of Federation headquarters. They're raining down hellfire on Discovery. Michael herself convinces Vance to let her go because they need to leave in order to give them enough time to get control of it back. And Vance does this purely because he just trusts Michael. Why? Michael has previously stolen ships before. She has gone on secret missions and denied direct orders from Starfleet. She has abandoned her post before, okay? That's an egregious problem. That's an egregious error. She got busted back down in a position. She's treasonous. She's caused wars. She's spoken out of turn at every possible opportunity. Why does Vance trust her? I don't understand it. This whole episode hinges on Vance distrusting Michael, and he did. Why? Does anybody know why? And not only that, she gets promoted at the end. You know? It seems like, this is a common trope in Star Trek, but it seems like you can do whatever you want, you can break all the rules, but as long as you save the day, it's okay. and you might even get promoted. That seems stupid to me. I like it when you win by following the rules. Call me an old fogey, but on this ship we follow the goddamn rules. Owaishikan finally gets a time to shine in this episode. She had a few brief moments in Season 2, but she gets to save the day finally here. She gets upgraded from just being bridge furniture to being a character who does something, because we find out that she used to be a free-diving abalone farmer, which I guess is something that grows in the bottom of a river or the ocean, I don't know, but they used to do it without tools. So she was experienced with holding her breath. Cool. It'd be cool if we could add that to the training regimen for Starfleet officers, because it was useful here. We'll have to make a note of that. And because she can hold her breath, she's the one who carries the bomb to the nacelle as the ship's running out of air. This is great. She needs a promotion. She should have been the captain. Maybe. In reality, the captain would probably be somebody in line to get that position already from the Federation. Like, in reality, it would probably be someone of the captain rank who did not have their own command would have been put in that position. But, alas, I guess Vance was a good guy all along. He subverted my expectations in a good way. I really thought you were going to make him evil. Of course, you still could in Season 4, but they had a few scenes where they made him look kind of scary. So I guess his performance and the way he was directed was actually surprisingly nuanced. Good job. This episode ends with a very nice and hopeful quote from Mr. Gene Roddenberry. You know, the great bird of the galaxy. Whoever that is. I've never heard of him. Wink, wink. So this is by far the best season finale of the series, and it seems to progress its plot in a logical way for the most part. It wasn't boring by any means, but a few blemishes with regards to the turbo lift shenanigans drags it down a bit. The ending left me hopeful for the future, without relying on a cheap cliffhanger. I wish the villains could have been arrested, and I wish Sarah was still the captain. Just try not to think about this one too hard, guys. 6.5 out of 10. Again, to reiterate, I tend to review these based on how it makes me feel coming out of it. I felt good coming out of it. I didn't feel distraught, I didn't feel upset, and I didn't feel disappointed. I was inclined to pay attention to this episode. I didn't feel like looking away that much. I wasn't bored to tears, and I wasn't brought to tears by how annoying it was. So, we're all good. 6.5. So, what's happening to this channel after we run out of new Star Trek to review? I experimented with other features on this channel, like Mark's Design Room and browsing various Trek websites. That'll be returning. I'm learning Blender 2.9. I will be doing Mark's Design Rooms to update people on what's going on in my DeviantArt. You should check out my DeviantArt. It's going really well right now. It's booming even. I just posted a new refit for Discovery. That would be cool if the Season 4 Discovery was totally different, and I imagine what it would look like. Just as a hypothetical. I've got 3 or 4 more projects in Blender on the go right now we could update you on. Pacific 201 just came out. I may review that. I really loved it. E.C. Henry's my hero. He started off as a modeler, and the amount of modeling work he did for that film was fantastic. Pacific, possibly my favorite design, if you count all canon and non-canon. That's possibly my favorite ship. And tier lists. I think we can look at some tier lists on TierMaker. And of course, I'll be reviewing comments if you guys keep posting them. So I need everybody to like and subscribe. I don't normally say that, but I figured I'd just say it once because we're finishing off our review season. Maybe we'll look at old Star Trek movies. And I may review Star Trek episodes that I either really, really like or really, really hate. There's not much point in going through the whole list of Star Trek episodes. So with that, this is Lieutenant Mark. I'm signing out. Hopefully I'll be seeing you in the future. I know this video was a little late, but I had just a lot of scheduling conflicts come up, and I could not get this done until now. Sorry about that, and I'll be seeing you.